a second. Oh, cheers.
When talking about the concept of anabolic or catabolic, it's not like you are anabolic all the time, or even catabolic for that matter. It is problematic to think as if you are anabolic or need to be anabolic all the time, because supplement companies will capitalize on that, and they will try to push you their supplements. They will try to sell you their BCAAs and say that you need their BCAAs to be anabolic all day, baby. Or some new fitness influencer may say, no, my latest released workout program is what you need in order to stay anabolic all day. And this is just not true, you know? This is just companies trying to take advantage of the misconception of this term and trying to sell their products to the masses, trying to sell their BCAAs or their new latest programs that will get you anabolic for days, you know? You need to understand that you're not always anabolic or catabolic, but that you are indeed anabolic and catabolic throughout the whole day. You need to understand that in your body there is an epic battle between those two states, between anabolism and catabolism. You can think of this as a battle as a UFC match, actually, and you can think of it as a match between those two forces. And believe me, our good boy anabolism gets his ass kicked quite a few times by catabolism. Something really interesting about this, though, is that catabolism actually follows anabolism throughout the day. And if your goal is to be, and it isn't your goal actually to be anabolic all day, it is your goal to win the day. Using an analogy, if catabolism and anabolism had 100 matches each day in the octagon, you just need to make sure that our good boy anabolism wins at least 51 of those matches. This is why that instead of using the term being in an anabolic state, a more correct term would be being in a NET anabolic state. NET is really the key point, the key word in this statement, because we are both anabolic and catabolic at different times throughout the day. But over the course of the day, what you need to focus on is being in a NET anabolic state. It's not like genetic dictated that you were born catabolic and your best gym buddy, Jim, was born anabolic and is going to be buffy and you're not going to build any muscle. No, it doesn't work like that. That's nonsense, because you are both going to be anabolic and catabolic throughout the day. If you were to think of protein synthesis during the day, anabolism and catabolism actually wouldn't actually be two straight lines going to the Buzz Lightyear's catchphrase. They would be actually both they would be two lines with peaks and valleys, you know, and sometimes the biggest peak would be the anabolic peak, and sometimes the biggest peak would be the catabolic peak. And that's it, you know. During the day, you're going to be anabolic at some times and catabolic at others. Now that you understand the fine dynamics between those two states of protein synthesis, let's now go and talk about what contributes to you being in a NET anabolic state. Well, your training, of course, the type of training, your frequency of training, and intensity of training all play a role. Your nutrition, your uptake of amino acids, their quantity and their quality play a role. Beyond that, we have other factors such as hormones, energy balance, recovery, and some others. Well, all of these influence an anabolic state. Now, let's look at what increases catabolism or an catabolic state. Well, they are eating, they are training. Yeah, you can see where I'm going with this, right? They are pretty much the same that increase an anabolic state. When you eat, you signal for anabolic responses and catabolic responses. When you are training, not only you signal for an increase in protein synthesis and anabolic processes, but also catabolic processes. You can see then how catabolism follows anabolism. And let's be clear about one thing. Catabolism is absolutely essential for life in general and for you to be in a healthy state. When we think about protein metabolism and the anabolic process, the building up of molecules are vital for life, as is catabolic processes, the breaking down of molecules. In the case of breaking down of the proteins, which are sometimes reused throughout the body, and this is what is called protein turnover. If this did not occur, you would not be very well in health. You would probably look like this. We know that amino acids intake, eating protein, is important. As Moore et al. Said, it was found that frequent meals increase net protein balance following resistance training. Well then, does that mean that you need to eat a lot of times throughout the day then? Well, it depends. It depends on your schedule, on what you enjoy doing, if you like and enjoy eating a lot of smaller meals throughout the day, or if you enjoy eating 1 or 2 or 3 larger, bigger meals throughout the day. And it also depends if you can stick with a certain protocol for a long period of time. Honestly speaking, if you are not a top performing athlete, you shouldn't really complicate your life and with this nutrient timing, as it is a very complicated and controversial theme and wields minimal returns if you are a normal gym goer. In terms of protein intake and how much you should eat in a day, there are a lot of good informational websites and videos in YouTube, so you should really just go check them out. In terms of protein timing, I wouldn't really overthink it. Just focus on eating your nutrient goals for the day, and you will be good to go. When talking about the synthesis of protein, what you need to know, and if you want to go deeper on this subject, by the way, you can check out other YouTube videos. Shredded Sports Science has a really good video on protein synthesis, and I really want to go any deeper into this. But what you need to know is that the amino acids you consume will chain together, and the order in which they will be chained together determines the type of protein created. Now, intaking protein is very important for this process, of course. Now, to create a net anabolic state, it is also useful to understand one concept, and this concept is of nitrogen balance, a positive nitrogen balance, and this is heavily tied to the eating of food. This is also a useful concept, but I really wouldn't overthink this concept or lose any sleep over it. It's nice to know about it, but it's not something you should really be thinking about all day. It's not that big of an impact in your muscle building and protein synthesis. Nitrogen balance is basically the balance between the nitrogen you intake and the nitrogen you excrete. When we eat dietary protein, it contains nitrogen. so we're building that nitrogen store up. But we excrete nitrogen through many daily processes, such as sweating or urinating and many others. When we are in nitrogen positive balance, that is conducive with an anabolic state, and when we are in negative nitrogen balance, it is conducive with a catabolic state. This is a lot of information, and I'm sure you're probably thinking, but how can I make sure I create a NET Anabolic state then? Well, you just need to do the basic things right, okay? Your eating and your training. This training needs to be challenging to the muscle, and this is highly customizable to the preferences of the individual, but for all cases it needs to contain progressive overload, constant challenging of the muscle to force it to adapt and grow. As for eating, you need to make sure you intake quality food sources. Your dietary preference is totally up to you, but you need to make sure that quality protein is in your diet. The quality meaning essential amino acids intake. Quantity meaning eating adequate quantities of protein. Like I said before, there are good guidelines about this topic in the internet. You should really just go and look for them yourself. What you really need to focus on, like I said before then, is doing the basics right and disregarding other minutiae. If you are performing challenging resistance training, I don't really care at which time you are performing it. At noon, after lunch, before lunch, I don't care. Whatever works for you. If you are intaking good quality proteins and food sources, I don't really care if you're eating before you go training, after your go training, or both. At the end of the day, what you really need to make sure is that you eat well and that you did a good challenging workout and achieved your protein intake for the day. Well guys, this is it. I hope you guys managed to learn something from this video. I really enjoyed making it, so yeah, this is it. See you guys next week. Bye.